to.
I got an appointment.
There, Craig.
I can change it, but that was the earliest I could get it, so I didn't want to miss it.
Okay, that can stay here.
Is it passed? It is passed. All right.
Okay. Perfect.
You good? All right, 6:31, and I'll call the meeting to order. Everybody's present except for Jay, which is why I'm here. First things first, open forum. If anybody has anything to say. All right. Hearing nothing, I'll close the open forum. Approve the consent agenda. Payment of bills. Anybody have anything either they want to pull out or change from the minutes or anything? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move for approval.
There's a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Potential bond refunding. I've got Chris from Ellers is on. Ooh, on the screen. Hi, Chris.
You guys.
This is kind of cool.
Thank you, council members. Included tonight in your packet is our pre-sale report for the proposed Series 2019 general obligation improvement refunding bonds. So I'll maybe just spend a few minutes touching on some of the key points in this report, and then any questions that you may have, certainly ask while I'm going, or ask at the end. Happy to address any questions that you may have. So on the first page of this report, again, the proposed issue, $1,145,000 general obligation improvement refunding bonds, what we're calling Series 2019A. The purpose of this bond issue would be to current refund the city's outstanding GO improvement refunding bonds, Series 2009A, for interest cost savings. And so this new bond issue the structure of it wouldn't change at all relative to what's already outstanding with the 2009A bonds. This would just basically take the place of those 09A bonds with what we're estimating, what we're projecting up over coupons attached to them, so ultimately interest cost savings here to the city. Those 09A bonds were issued to take out the temporary 2007A bonds, and those are issued, as you can see there, to fund various public improvements throughout the city, including improvements in that Cedar Grove Business Park. For the statutory authority for this proposed issue, it would be the same authority that was used to issue the 2009A bonds. That would be the statute 429, and that's specific to special assessment bonds, and then 475 as general bonding authority that all cities and counties here in the state of Minnesota use. So because the city would be using that 429 authority, and the city's already assessed at least 20% of the project costs, then these bonds can be issued just like the 09A bonds were issued without any sort of referendum, and they do not count against the city's 3% net cap limit. Maybe most importantly here is the projected interest cost savings. So the projections as of right now would be that over the life of this, that's the next 11 years, we're estimating total future value savings of approximately $143,000 and net present value benefit of just shy of $130,000, which is equal to 11.85% of the refunded principal. A minute ago, I referred to this as a current refunding. This is current because the call date for that 2009 AA bond issue is February 1st of 2020. And so, because this new issue would be sold within 90 days of the call date for that 09A issue, that would make this a current refunding. The proposed call feature for this new issue would be February 1st, 2026. We understand, and speaking with Mike a couple of weeks ago, that there's some interest in having that slightly more aggressive call feature, and we think that there shouldn't be any sort of rate impact, any sort of negative or adverse rate impact by going a little more aggressive with that February 1st, 2026 call feature. Although, as we do move forward with this and put out the official statement, if underwriters are telling us that's a little bit too aggressive for what they're interested in bidding, and there might be some rate impact, then that's something that we'll certainly communicate back to you guys and adjust that back maybe 1 year if need be. But at this point in time, I don't see that as being necessary. And again, this is a 11-year term, so that's the same payoff date, final payment, as the existing 09A issue. The city most recently got a bond rating from Standard & Poor's back in 2017 for the 2017A issue, and that issue was rated, as well as all outstanding geo debt of the city, was rated AA, and with a stable outlook by S&P. This issue is large enough to benefit from obtaining a rating, and so we would recommend updating that with S&P, going through that rating process and having that rating attached to this 2019A issue. On the next page, page 2, the basis for recommendation. This is historically the way the city issues debt through this competitive sale process, which we are recommending. The competitive sale process is best practice recommended by GFOA, and certainly the best way to obtain the most favorable financing for the city. And also that ability to attach the general obligation pledge leads ultimately to the lowest possible borrowing cost, and in this case, the highest possible interest cost savings for this refinancing. And that method of sale placement, as I said just a minute ago, we would recommend accessing the nationwide bond market for this. Likely it will be the regional banks bidding on this primarily, like Baird and Northland, perhaps Piper Jaffray, but by leveraging that regional and really nationwide bond market, we feel like that's the best way to get competitive bids here, to get the lowest possible borrowing costs here for the city. The next thing I'll touch on is the schedule that's included on page 4. You can see review by you all at the council taking place tonight, November 13th. We plan to distribute the official statement that is the offering document for this financing to the bond market on the week of November 25th, as well as have complete. We would expect that to take place that same week, 25th. The conference call with S&P, we would expect that to occur the following, the week of December 2nd. And then, as of right now, we're expecting the sale to occur, or we're proposing for the sale to occur on the morning of December 11th. And then either myself or Bruce would attend your meeting that evening and present the sale results to you and recommend awarding to the lowest bidder. And at that point, you would either award the refunding sale, or certainly at that point you have the option to reject all bids if say some sort of shock were to occur in the capital markets and bond rates spiked between now and a month from now, and there really was no savings, then you have the option at that point to reject all bids, and you don't incur any sort of cost. You you're not on the hook for our costs, you're not on the hook for the bond attorney's costs or the rating agency in that case. Closing date, as of right now, we're estimating that to be December 26th. That's the date that the city would receive proceeds from the sale. And then February 1st, 2020, that is the date that the 2009A bonds would be called with the proceeds from this 2019A sale. The next page is the estimated sources and uses of funds. You can see the sources just one line, that's the par amount for this issue, $1,145,000. Uses, there's 4 lines there. Underwriter's discount is first, that's the estimate that we have that the underwriter, whoever that ends up being, what they paid themselves for making this market taking place, for making this transaction happen. And then the cost of issuance, that's our fee, that's the bond attorney's fee, and then also the rating agency's fee. And deposit the current refunding fund, that is the amount needed to redeem in full the remaining principal amounts of that 2009A issue, and the rounding amount is just $260 currently estimated. That's just a function of muni bonds being sold in $5,000 blocks. And so to round by, you round by really whatever it takes to get you to the nearest 5,000. In this case, it's just a couple $100. The next page shows the estimated debt service schedule. And again, you can see that final maturity, February 1st, 2031. That is the same final maturity of the 2009A issue. And so this proposed refunding maintains the same structure as that existing issue, just hopefully lower interest rates when it's all said and done. And then the next page is the debt service comparison, and that shows the new issue on the left column there, total P&I. The net new debt service is basically that same amount, just with that $260 rounding applied to, kind of buy it down or reduce it by that $260 amount. And then that's compared relative to the existing 09A issue, that's the old net debt service. And the savings is what's shown on that far right column. So you can see that combined amount, future value savings of just over $143,000. And then when we're doing refundings, we're also interested in the net present value benefit. You can see that's in about the middle of the smaller text. That's at $129,747. And we compare that to the refunded principal, and that's now estimated at about 11.85%. And so with refundings, anytime you get above 3%, it's something that's worth considering. It's worth looking into. As you get into 5 and 6%, then it's really what we see as something that's absolutely worth moving forward with. And to get into this 10, 11, 12% ballpark, that gets to be very, very significant savings. And so we would highly recommend moving forward with this refinancing. And then the final page is the debt sale resolution. And so by adopting this, you would basically be giving us our marching orders to move forward with preparing that official statement and setting up the rating call and all those other steps. And then again, the sale date, we would expect that to be December 11th, and at 6:30 p.m. we would come with sale results in hand and present our sale day report to you and look for that formal award for locking in this refinancing. So I think that covers the points that I wanted to touch on here, and that was, that's a lot of information in only 10 or so minutes, but any questions that you may have, I'm really happy to address at this point.
Anybody?
I don't. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think what Chris said, you know, when you get that kind of a return, you know, I mean, I don't know any downside to proceeding with this. I mean, it's all for the benefit of the city and the residents and taxpayers, so if there's no more questions, I would make a motion to approve resolution, whatever the number is,
We'll call it 2019-08.
call it that.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I will second. $143,000 savings to the taxpayers is nice.
All right, motion and a second. Anybody have anything else they want to talk about? I guess I just have a question. Is this something that Ellers provides just when these opportunities come up as you're looking at our other geo bonds that are out there? Like that's just something you guys review just kind of as the opportunities present themselves?
We're always looking at refunding opportunities to provide savings to our city and county clients. And this, you know, with this not being callable until Q1 of 20, this opportunity really, we can no longer do advanced refundings. That's something that the IRS back in 2018, they no longer allow municipalities to advance refund outstanding debt on a tax-exempt basis. And so because of that, you know, we have to wait until we can do current refundings, which again is a refunding that's the new issue is sold within 90 days of the call date of the old issue. And so we're now in that 90-day window where we can pull the trigger on this one. And so, you know, seeing that 11 or, you know, so percent savings, that just is, as soon as, you know, as we're reviewing and we see that jumps right out at you and screams, this is something we, you know, really should get going on.
That's great. All right. Thanks for, that's good information, good presentation. It's, I think, complicated stuff, but very clearly laid out, so. All right, any more discussion? If not, all those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 All right, unanimous. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Have a great night all. Thank you very
You
much.
too.
Mike will talk shortly here.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yep. I just have a follow-up question with regard to how this affects then our 2020 budget. If that bond payment is that changing for 2020? Is it-
Yes.
It does, right? Yeah.
And so that will have an impact on our debt payment, which affects the levy issue?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can I allow you to repeat the question?
We're talking about whether this is going to take effect in time for it to adjust our 2020 budget, and we're saying the answer is yes.
The city will make the Q1 of 20 payment as scheduled for the existing issue. But then the interest cost will likely be, you know, less right away there in 2020 as a result of doing this. Yep.
Great.
So you'll be able to bring that information to us when we're trying to approve the final levy?
Yes.
Well, and I guess technically it's the way that you look at your Q1 of 20 payment as part of your 19 budget, which is the way a lot of cities do consider that. Then in that sense, the reduction for that Q1 of 21 will be realized early in the 2020 budget. So in that sense, you know, that will the savings will start pretty much right away. Yep.
The slight complicating factor in that conversation is this is a bond payment that the county also helps with. So we'll have to sort through what our agreement with the county says about this.
Mhm.
But it's good news all around anyway. So
Yeah.
it should be an easy conversation.
Right.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Chris. The code enforcement engagement results.
All right. So the council has made code update and enforcement a council priority. So staff have created and implemented 3 different tools to gather input, public input, about what are the biggest concerns in the community. We did an online survey that gathered 524 responses, a token voting board that gathered 274 participants' responses, and additionally a mailer that went out to all the PUC customers that gathered 188 responses.
And how many PUC customers?
It's about 1,200.
So 15% response, so.
So the 3 tools kind of corroborated these 3 concerns: accumulation of trash and garbage, obstruction of public ways, and obstruction of views. So now staff will dig deeper into these topics and seek out community members to give us more feedback on what are these. Now that we've identified these are the concerns that are most represented in the community, what do they really mean to the different folks who make up the community, and then work with them to say, here are some ways to address them. How does this work?
So this is going to planning commission?
I've seen it.
They've seen it.
They've seen these results, yeah.
What did you guys?
I was not there. It was
Oh.
last week's planning commission meeting, and I was out of town, so.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
What did you?
So it was a report to the planning commission.
Okay.
And we weren't asking them for any action at that time.
Yeah.
They did express an interest in continuing to participate in the smaller group sessions where we're going to try and dig in a little deeper on these. And so we'd ask that if you're all interested in doing that as well, let us know and we'll make sure to include you in those things.
How will you go when you say dig deeper? Because we've had so many different people and responding to it. Do you have an idea of how you're going to dig deeper? Is there anything you can share with us as to what methods you'll do to kind of drill down?
We'll put together groups of 10 people in kind of like a focus group and have conversations about where we really try to identify what is this group when asked. These are the topics that we've identified by the community. What does this mean to you? What does the accumulation of trash and garbage look like? And then we'll having a deeper conversation about what we really mean when we say that and identifying what that means.
So I take it, though, with all the 3 different sets of things you've done, you have some idea what people are talking about? I mean, whether through the picture survey, the boards, what people could have written on the survey mailed out to PUC. Because I look, these aren't vague by any means, that's not a good word, but they're at a higher level. Obviously, I'm wondering, I can get in my mind a trash garbage understanding when it's talking about obstruction of public ways or obstruction of views. I'm wondering how you drill into those a little bit by how people answer, because if it's a group of 10, might be 10 who weren't really thinking about that. Or do we have some idea off the surveys what people were thinking?
The surveys, I think, reflect that there's a lot of different views on these 3 topics of what people were talking about. Okay. So I think part of it will be discussing those and figuring out what we can all agree is the best way to address them.
It'll be a guided conversation, so there'll be some set up with ideas of where you want to go with it. I think some of the feedback we got in the earlier tools was that people had a lot more they wanted to say. And that really wasn't the best opportunity to let them do that.
Okay.
But a focus group where everybody's sitting and looking at each other and talking to each other is a good way to let people say a little bit more about it. And we'll ask them, what does it mean to them? We may look at some pictures of different ways that could be represented. We'll talk about how it affects people's lives. We'll talk about what role they think government should have in it. And it's important to note, I think one of the other things we learned with the tools is, we think anyway, there was a real strong message that maybe there's not a role for us in some of these issues. That a lot of people were pretty clear that they don't necessarily see the government getting involved in this or taking action. So we'll have to try to explore that piece of it too, and we certainly hope to get that viewpoint included in the conversations.
All right.
And then we'll report back what we find, and we think that's the last kind of exploratory step, and then the next step will be we'll start looking at some tools and see how they match up with what people told us and what people are interested in doing.
I was looking through this stuff, maybe you answered it, but how are you forming the focus groups? Like, where are you pulling, like, how are you getting people involved in that? Is there a way for people to communicate that they're interested in participating in that?
Well, if anyone's listening, you can email me at patrick@grandmarais.city or call 218-387-1848. But additionally, we'll be, we got a lot of responses. So we got a lot of people we can say, hey, we noticed that you're interested, and we can ask people if they'd like to participate.
Sure. Okay. Good.
When you did the surveys, I see that the PUC mailing, did that go to just city limits?
Everyone who gets a PUC bill got the mailer.
Okay. And then when you did the online survey and the token voting, was there any way to, are you accessing people who live in the city or anybody
With both of those,
anybody who wants to have a view, wherever they live?
yeah, with the online survey, that anyone who wanted to take it,
Okay.
it was available to. The token voting board was set up at the Grand Marais State Bank,
Yep.
a Highway 61 open house, City Hall a number of days, Super America Marathon, library event, Ruby's Pantry, North House, and south of the border. So it's all within city limits.
We purposefully.
Well, it's within city limits, but it doesn't mean people are living in the city that made a comment.
No, we know that there's quite a few that aren't, and we
Okay.
purposely didn't define community limits
I was wondering how you're going to
on
try
the
to
front end of these tools, and I know that's been part of your conversations about the feedback, and if you have some direction to us on that issue when we're going to go and recruit folks on focus groups, we'd appreciate it.
Well, I think when we're talking about trash and garbage specifically, I think when we're getting down to neighborhoods and we're talking about where do we live and how does my neighborhood look, I think that comes back to city residents. And I don't mean to exclude county people. Maybe that's more of a discussion of downtown. But I think when we're talking about neighborhoods and trying to make decisions whether we're going to set ordinances in place or zoning deals that our city residents have to follow, I think it should be the city people that get to have the majority say. So even if it's 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, I think that's really important. I'm hoping there's that many people that will come forward and say, yes, I would like to be a part of this. I want to have a positive impact. I think that's a really good opportunity for people to do that. So I would hope that we would really strongly look at as many city people doing that as we can. Because again, I go back to thinking it's about our neighborhoods and where we live. So.
Is it other folks thinking that way?
I think it's important to listen to everybody. Because the city is the county, city in a way, right? I mean, but I think I think it's interesting looking at the results that are online based or PUC customer based or the token board. I mean, they are pretty similar, like those three that were listed as the top three, but you know, the PUC number, or that one, I mean, really, accumulation of trash and garbage and outdoor storage, which I don't know if you could lump those two together, right?
I mean, they're clearly in the same family.
But noise is right there too. And noise does not show up at all on the online survey. And I'm not sure if that's because how do you convey noise through a picture?
That's
I
what
guess.
we think, yeah.
But I would, you know, I mean, I know that at some point they all should be addressed, but the point of this is to create some sort of hierarchy for how the issues are addressed, right? But I would agree with what Kelly said, despite my rambling, that the PUC customer base one, I think I would tend to put a little bit more, weight into. I mean, again, it's not like it's so totally different than the other ones where it's like, well, there's similarities, but, you know, obstruction of views, obstruction of public ways, both had 41 on the PUC mailer, but noise had 52. You know, I mean, that's a pretty decent jump based on the amount of respondents that we had, you know, and really it's the results from the online, especially that, well, they don't even include noise, you know, but obviously people that live in town think it's an issue because it's the number three.
Yeah.
And number 1 and 2 could be construed as the same exact thing, or they're at least similar. So,
Yeah, and I think with that thought, you know, noise to me is one of those things that unless you live in the community and experience it, you know, kind of throughout the day, you know, morning till evening and at night, you may not have that, you know, kind of concern. But residents that, you know, are subject to issues about noise, I mean, it could rise. And I mean, I appreciate that people from outside the city, you know, gave their opinions and you know, participated in the survey and gave us some good information. But I think we have to use then what we think is best to affect the city code if we're going to be doing any, you know, code changes. And you know, this is a good starting point, I think.
yeah.
I mean, we've sat here enough times that we've heard noise in the street where we can't have a conversation, you know, and, you know, is that an issue? I think it's an issue. You know.
And especially if this is then leading towards what, the sort of code enforcement, right, issues that we're trying to focus the. Yeah.
I mean, I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, I agree.
Odors was high on the token board. We're making some assumptions about that they're talking about us
Yeah.
and the sewer plant because of the time when we
July.
were doing that.
Yeah.
And we knew that there were some things going on there, and the PUC is already taking steps to try to address that, so we kind of removed that from the equation. It didn't show up as high on the other ones, but it was really high on that one, and that we just assumed they meant us, and we're already dealing with it, so.
I don't understand what obstruction of public ways is.
Parking across the sidewalk.
Okay.
Putting a large trailer in the street. Again, what does it mean to people? Those, particularly those, that type of label is kind of, it's descriptive but arbitrary and hard to understand. And if we're going to try and figure out what actions to take about it, if any, then we need to ask people a lot more about it.
Yeah, right on. Okay. Anything else on that, or should we move on? All right, let's move on. Housing policy implementation proposal.
This is the other thing the Planning Commission looked at. So at their previous meeting, they reviewed the results and the implementation plan and were pleased with them. And said they wanted to go take the next step, which is to start actually doing the implementation. And we talked about the need for adding some resources to make that happen in a timely manner. They were very interested in seeing that happen sooner rather than later. We asked HKGI to give us a proposal, since they developed the plan and are familiar with it and probably already have some ideas on how they would implement it. And you see the proposal that they offer. The Planning Commission recommends that we accept this and get working on it, and with all due haste even. So that Jeff has prepared a schedule that I just looked at today that is, looking into next early spring for getting this done. So starting in December and working through the winter and trying to get this done in a couple of months. And that's kind of what we thought at the Planning Commission, is if we could have some ordinances passed by May, that might be, that's a pretty fast turnaround to make this kind of work happen, but that's the goal that we're setting for ourselves, so that before construction season next year, we've got some new rules in place. I think it's pretty exciting stuff. I think it'd be good to get this done.
It scares me a little bit when we're so aggressive when I see next spring, the first part of me goes, "Ugh!" But the other half of me goes, I'm always the one saying too, government works so slowly. So if we have someone that can help us and we can do a thorough job and we can start opening up some avenues to help our zoning and our housing needs, then I'm all for this. And I'm excited to see some things that would change. I know the night that we had the forum here and met with Jeff when he was here, we had a lot of really good conversation, and I liked the public input that we had that night. I felt like that was I could do that every week, that was a feel-good meeting. So I don't see an issue with this. I think the goals are lofty, and I just hope that we can meet them, and looking forward to it.
So this is just going to be a real classic community conversation about zoning in its essence. We're going to be talking about things that were generally seen as positive by that group, adding different housing types into the zoning, allowing for more density. But it's one thing to say that's a good idea. It's another thing to contemplate it being your neighbor's property that's going to do that. And that's the push and pull that we're going to be going through. And we'll have to make some efforts to make sure the community stays involved through that conversation. At this point, our goal is to be able to address housing, and we're going to have to be sacrificing some things to do that. And it might be just willingness to allow some change, and the conversation will then be, well, to what extent and to what limits are we going to put on it, and that's really the work that's going to happen here in the next few months.
I like the aggressive schedule that they've proposed. I just think we have to be open to the idea that schedule might get slowed down if we end up getting into these conversations that get more challenging, and we need to, spend more time dealing, with how we address, differences of opinion. People have had 40 years or more of history with the zoning as it's kind of been, and changes, while it may in theory sound good, implementation of it, and when you say it could be your neighbor's property, that's when the rubber hits the road. How committed are we all to this? Not just us, but the community.
Yeah. One of the things we asked for them is to visualize, so that's part of their proposal as well. We need to see some images, because I think people will be able to understand it a little better if this is what this type of housing might look like on that lot in those settings.
Yeah.
Well, and even we've had a couple, in the short time that I've been on council, we've had a couple people come before us with some conditional use permits and things that we've granted, and then the housing hasn't moved forward. I can think of one that on the current Gunflint Trail that didn't move forward. There was something on 4th Avenue West and 5th Street that has never moved forward. And I'd be curious, I guess I haven't seen either one of the people that own properties, just to talk to them and find out what stalled out.
Gunflint Trail is moving forward.
Going now.
They
Yeah,
have,
Their first 2
okay.
units are under construction right now.
Ah,
Yeah.
yay.
So it is yay. We've been waiting.
Okay.
Do we have to approve this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's money involved.
I thought so.
Well, we just saved money, now we're gonna spend money.
Well,
I can't tell you that.
We're not spending more than what
Nothing
we've
positive
saved,
still,
so
yeah.
we're still in the positive. And this is a positive. So I would make a motion that we accept the proposal through HKGI for the cost of our zoning ordinance amendment.
Okay.
32, yeah.
Yeah,
32.5,
$32,500.
Are they making a presentation then, or is that something that they're leaving out because of extra fees, or?
No, they're
They're here 5 times.
including multiple meetings.
Okay.
And we talked to them about if some of those meetings we could do like we did with Chris today,
Okay.
if there was any potential savings there. A lot of this work, though, I think is just going to be easier for them if they're here. So
Yeah, they're on this list. There are notes of 5 different times.
Yep.
On that next, if you flip the page over, Craig, on that one with the brown, the phasing.
Yeah, and then plus
Yeah.
I saw it right here, project.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So now we're gonna look at resolution 2019-07, Highway 61, IRRRB Community Infrastructure Application. Mike?
big thanks to Marais at the EDA for reaching out to the IRRRB after our cost shock with MnDOT, and this is the result of that. We've been invited, and this is a program that the IRRRB just has to apply for 2 years of funding, so this is a resolution that's required to do that. All the application materials are actually online, and Mary's going to help us with that stuff as well. This is potentially really good news.
Does the IRRRB funding in any way affect the project at all, or will it basically would just provide us with funds to pay for a portion of the project that
That's right.
involves our infrastructure?
Yeah, specifically the water and sewer infrastructure.
Yep.
And so this money is specifically directed to the city of Grand Marais, not the state of Minnesota, DOT?
That's right.
Okay.
So in a sense, it just would refund what we've already paid.
Yep.
Well, I'd make motion to approve resolution 2019-07.
This is a 2-year, from what I gather.
Yeah.
We can do it back to
Well, we'll
back.
have to come back and do another resolution for the second year.
Right,
So this is just the first year at $250.
okay.
$500,000.
$250 per year, though.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So you make
That
it-
10-inch sewer line, and, we're almost back on track.
Almost. Is that like playing horseshoes?
Cost overruns.
I will second that.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just make sure we respell infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Oh, I like that. Is it still IRRRB? I thought it was IRRR now.
Nope, it's back.
It's back?
Is the B
Too
back?
many people got confused. All right,
Okay.
sorry, Craig. Did you say?
No.
You have discussion? Okay.
No, no discussion.
Okay.
Who we have a motion and a
I
second?
second.
That's
We
second.
just gotta vote, okay.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, unanimous. Thanks, Mary, for finding that. That's great. And
Hopefully they deliver.
council and staff reports. Craig?
Let's see, pulling out my thing here. We had a golf, just a summation of the golf course. I think we already covered some of the numbers on that already, but we just talked about a few staffing concerns, I think, that are gonna be up there. I think we have some part-time staff that are cutting back hours for next summer, so I think there's gonna be a need for looking at getting more staff up there to do some of the work that's been currently done by a couple of guys that are cutting back their hours quite a bit next year.
Those for groundskeepers?
Yeah.
Outside?
Yeah,
folks?
yeah. Looked at trying to add more carts to the course. That's a pretty good profit center, having more carts, so they're looking at maybe creative ways to get that number up a little bit. As far as the memberships, I think we're good. The leagues were good. I think they're gonna do that Y tournament again next year. There's some equipment needs that they discussed that'll come up, I think, at later meetings.
Do you know what?
Hmm?
Do you know what they?
Yeah, I don't know if they prioritized what they wanted to do here, but the top dresser is a replacement schedule. Mower is next. I mean, I think they're, do you know exactly what the equipment needs are?
We've got a
Fairway mower or something?
pretty detailed schedule, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's one item for sure, and then, you know, a sprayer, I think a better sprayer, I think was on the list, and he's working with getting something maybe used or something that'll help do that, but, so as far as equipment, I think that was part of the discussion on that. As far as the rec park is concerned, they're still working on a map, a numbering map of the rec park, and I got a copy of it here. They're going to renumbering all the campsites, and then we discussed about coloring certain areas different colors, so I think they're going to research a possibility of with the numbering system also having it a colored system, so that when people check in, they kind of know what color area they're going to. That was just an idea that they discussed. I don't think they wrote it in stone yet, but they're renumbering the whole park so that's easier to
Will it
place.
be renumbered next year then, Craig?
I think the plan is, yes, to renumber it.
Will that make
So
it-
you'll have a 1 through 100 zone, and then they go to the 100 to the 200, and then the 200 to 300. Yeah, 1 through 191.
There'll be some tricky
I was gonna say,
transitions.
so
Yeah,
if I've
instead of
reserved,
having,
say,
like, instead-
23W every summer
Yeah,
for a
right, there'll
week,
be
how do I
there'll be no
know?
letters after
You
numbers.
Yeah.
better figure out what your number is.
Which only basically,
Right.
one was 1 through what, 80-something, 90-something was the east side. When it had
Right.
a W, it meant it was on the west side.
So I
of the
think that's a
park.
good
So-
idea. That's gonna be good for the park. Dave does a great job down there, so I think he's got that pretty much under control. Then we also there were rates. There was a vote on rate change. I think we went with, 3%. 3% rate change for monthly camping fees, nightly camping fees, and the projections of what that will bring. And really, we're rounding down some of the numbers, so, you know, like, if you're paying 42 now, you'd be paying 43 for a certain site. I mean, it's not a big jump, but it was something I think that they felt necessary to do with, you know, keeping things going down there. And I think we also talked about the DNR project. I think Dave had said 50% of those plans have been completed, and there seems to be probably a hesitation that that job probably won't start next summer, the boat launch, because of the fact where there's some permits that they have to get for some of that, and it takes a lot of time, so probably not till the following year when the DNR boat launch starts.
That was I think their original plan was to do most of the construction in 21. They
Yeah,
wanted to do some staging in 20. of
they're gonna try to
materials.
do some,
I don't know if
yeah.
that's gonna happen or not.
They're gonna try to do some staging with the rock, but then if you're gonna have all that stuff piled down there for next summer and not use it, I think there's some issues with, you know, how that's gonna work out, so.
Make it hard to use what's there right now if there's.
Yeah, well,
Well, not necessarily. We've got space, and you know, our.
There's a lot of room down
building's gonna
there.
be gone, and then then there's even more space.
So what, speaking of the buildings though, any thoughts on when those buildings, are you just gonna, we just gonna keep them there until the last minute, or we have a time schedule on trying to actually get them?
We're not gonna keep them till the last minute. We'll be well ahead of that, but
Last hour there.
no, last year.
So
That-
then, what do we do about the dog pounder?
That's
or
the other-
group
yeah.
that's,
I haven't heard from anybody about that, but I think that's, when it comes time for that building to go down, I hope that there's a plan.
I mean, they can certainly keep that building there till the last minute, but
Right.
they're gonna need to have a alternative ready to go. And
Well,
I know that there's been a lot of conversations about that, but I haven't been privy to the latest ones, so.
well, I know at one time I had a couple people just contact me wondering what I knew or what my thoughts were on it, or if we had a need, and whether the city's gonna assist with any money, or the county would, or, and I said, well, I can't speak to it, I'm one person, not five, so,
The sheriff's been brought into the conversation by that group, and that, I think that was a good step that we recommended some time ago, and that, when we have conversations about funding, it'll also be about just operations and everything else, and it'll be with the sheriff's office involved too, so that'll be good.
Can we put that whole dog pound issue on the agenda for, say, some
Agenda item. The closed portion of this meeting is being tape recorded pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D.03 subdivision 2. In addition to the city council, also present in the closed session are Mike Roth, do I need to fill this in?
Nah, you can just say our names.
Kim Dunsmore,
One second. So at this point, I haven't.
You can keep going for now.
City Minister Mike Roth, Finance Director Kim Dunsmore, Communications Director Patrick Knight, and I almost said Nick Knight, Patrick Knight.
And Chris.
And Chris, City Attorney.
So, now we're gonna do our transition. I'm gonna lock the door. Patrick's gonna